On today's episode of Kult America, I'm going to talk a little bit about my first impressions in visiting the Middle East. So I'd never been to the Middle East before, and I never really considered going there, but I was invited to give some workshops about online television. I agreed out of curiosity. I didn't feel entirely safe with the idea. I didn't feel entirely confident with the idea because all the images I had known of the Middle East were given to me by corporate media. Because when you go to a place that's truly foreign to you, it's testing what you think you know about yourself. It's testing the tolerances. Just in the first few moments of visiting the country, the frame of mind kind of goes from, okay, Middle East, scary, terrorism, to oil money, rich, well-to-do. Cleared customs, drove to the city, and we saw sprawling skyscrapers. It looked like they were just being built one after another, after another, after another. And so we checked into our hotel, and right out my window was a humongous mosque. I really wasn't familiar with architecture like that, and it looked very exotic. It looked very thrilling and interesting for me. I expected to draw attention to myself just by the color of my skin, which was completely not the case. The entire time we were there, no one bothered us on the street. No one came up to us. No one propositioned us. We went to a market, and in the market, people were having festivities. There were so many parades crossing through the streets that in a moment there were traffic jams of little parades. Local people were filming these parades with their cell phones, and when I watched them watching the entertainment and holding their phones just as anyone would in any other part of the world, I was so surprised because these simple emotions really humanize a place that to me had been so dehumanized because of the press that I had always been exposed to. When you're not familiar with this way of dressing, when you're not familiar with the concept of people covering their face from the public, you could easily get a suspicious camera angle on any of those people and skew it whichever way you like in the news to realize your agenda. I think it's a shame that the crazy people from that region have to define the rest of the people from that region, because every person I saw there was a human being just as any person I would see in Europe or the United States. And what I learned to do through that experience is really, really, really question how tolerant I think that I am. Because all it takes is a little trip, a little airplane ride to see that what you think you perceive about a place might not be true, because the emotional result of visiting there could be a complete contrast. It's really hard to make any definitive statements on Qatar, because the bottom line is that after spending 4 days in a Muslim country, I have way more questions than answers.